Welcome back to another episode of Stereotherapy. I am your host, Lisa, and I know why you clicked on this. I get it. I would be the same way, but we have a little spiel to get to before we get to our wonderful guest. Today in the show, I had the greatest honor to be joined by Ned Russin, whether you know him from Glitterer, Purple Circle Records, or of course, Title Fight. For me, I'm a huge Title Fight fan. I'm a huge Ned Russin fan. I mean, Glitterer is amazing, everything he's doing. This was a huge bucket list for me. This was a huge moment for me. And I'm so thankful for anyone that has subscribed to this channel because this is how I get to do such cool things like this. Forever thankful for that. Obviously, we dive into how he first fell in love with music, how he's maintained the why, and why he's devoted his life to music and that community. We also dive into how music is a catharsis and also how we can take the energy and the feeling we get from our local shows and local communities into the outside world that is just chaos lately. So many things, so many takeaways. I could have kept him for so much longer, but I wanted to honor his time because of the fact he is so busy. Did this right before Coachella. I'm forever thankful for him for making the time for me. So let's just get into it. Here is my conversation with Ned Russin. You're someone I've been doing this for like 3 years that I've always like a bucket list pipe dream to ever get this opportunity. So I really thank you so much.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so to not take up too much of your time, I know you're super busy. We'll just get into it. I'm already recording.
Cool.
Something I love to start a conversation with is the idea of where you first fell in love with music. Not necessarily like an artist, but like music itself. Where did you first fall in love with it and notice this deep connection?
Um, my family is has always been really involved in music. And my parents got all of my siblings and myself into music really early on. I started taking piano lessons when I was 7 years old, I think. And I think that's kind of what did it for me. And maybe just listening to music with my parents before that. My parents are really interesting in that they love music, but they don't love bands. They didn't really have like records that like we always listen to and stuff. And so I got turned on to like the Beach Boys and the Beatles from my mom, but it wasn't like I don't know, it wasn't required listening. It was just like something she enjoyed listening to. We heard it every now and then and would listen to it in the car and stuff. But when I started taking piano, I just felt like it was something that I understood pretty innately, and something that I thought I was good at. And so yeah, from pretty early on in that experience, I just gravitated towards it. And then I have an older brother who is 7 years older than me, and he got into punk like around that same time. So I started on like my own kind of musical journey of learning how to play instruments and also got exposed to punk like pretty simultaneously. And so it shifted pretty quickly towards really being interested in bands and stuff. But yeah, it was something that I feel like I've always been interested in and enamored by. Yeah, from a very young age.
Yeah, and it's interesting to bring up the car. I think there's just such an intimate moment with music in the car that we share, whether it's our parents listening to it. And I think about the times when I was younger and in the car with my parents and what shaped me. Although I don't play an instrument. I'm trying to teach myself guitar. There's one sitting here that I'm like, that is my goal. I want to do that.
Mhm.
Um, but I think there's just such that intimate nature of the car that so many people talk about and they can like remember like a moment
Yeah.
with a specific song.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just like I don't know. It makes a lot of sense to me. It's I feel like if you appreciate music and it connects with you, I feel like those experiences of hearing something, on the radio for the first time or hearing something, hearing a record from a friend or something like those are experiences that the car is really, I don't know, helpful and like facilitating in some weird way, just because there's so little to do, and I feel like I don't know, in American culture, it seems like so much of it is based around this idea of entertaining ourselves in that space with music. And so it just seems to be really inherent in that space. Yeah, it's I don't know exactly why that is. That'd be interesting to like think about it, but I feel like yeah, even to this day, the car is a great place to listen to new music because it's a place that you have to be, and you really don't have anything else to do, and so it's just I don't know. It's a great way to pass the time, often, at the very least. And then I feel like it goes from there, it just you have experiences where music or records or artists or whatever are tied to that experience. And that becomes something that's really special, I feel like.
Yeah, and too, and even from falling in love with music and being involved so much of you like for all these years, how have you maintained the why always of like why you're doing this, why you're creating music, and that need to create music? Because whether it's the industry or just the world, how have you maintained that why?
I don't know. It's
Mm.
not a conscious thing. It's not something that I feel like you have to, I don't know, check in on. For me, it's just something that I kind of can't control. Um, and I mean, I often do ask myself that. It is something that because I don't know, like anything, I have doubts and I have times of not feeling inspired, of not feeling particularly interested or feeling attached to something. Um, and so in those moments, yeah, I do ask myself like, why have I completely dedicated my life to this thing and invested all my time and energy and built my life around this? And the answer just seems to be that I just kind of can't help it. Um, there's something about playing music, specifically playing music to me, that I just have to do. It kind of, I don't know. When it's great, there's nothing better. And even when it's bad, it's still something that just I want to do. And so yeah, it's the simple answer is just I just it's just something that I feel, and so I just kind of can't do anything about it, for better or for worse.
I think that's such a powerful thing because that's how I even feel with like doing this. Because so many people, as you get older, so many people say, well, when are you going to grow up? When are you going to get out of that? That I think when you find certain things at a young age, that you feel like you have to do. I have to do this. And people can say whether it's purpose or whatever they think or their calling. But for me, it just is like when you feel those emotions and feelings of like, I'm connected to this. I need this. I think it's hard to stop that, and I think that's what a beautiful way to look at how you started and where you're at now, and see that you've kept going despite. I can only imagine all the obstacles, like you said, like with doubt. I mean, doubt is something we all face in everything, and even especially as a creative.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. I think the way that I feel about music and the community that I come from, this is not something that I'm like trying to do as a career. This is not something that I'm trying to like make a bunch of money off of. This is not something that I'm trying to exploit in that regard. This is just something that I have to do to, like feel something. Not feel something and like I'm numb or something. It's just something I like I want to do because it just makes sense to me and it gives me the opportunity to um I don't know, to experience something beyond myself in a way that makes me feel connected to people and makes me feel understood and it makes me feel um it makes me feel a lot of things. And so I feel like the doubts that we have in this ideal of passion and purpose and all these things, they are rooted more in, I don't know, rooted in the societal ideas of, I don't know. consumerism and careerism and just generally vaguely blatantly in capitalism. And so to try to do something outside of those boundaries makes it tough because it's like, I don't know, I want to do this thing, but it's not something that you can always do, because of these other things that we have going on, of these whatever, of these realities that we have to exist in. Um, but I don't know. There's something that always pulls you back in. I don't know. It sounds generic and cliche. It sounds kind of silly to say it out loud. But yeah, it's just something that like I feel like if you have that feeling, you just can't help it, And that's just that's how I have it.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's so interesting too. Like something can always pull you back in because even times where I've thought, oh, I'm in my 30s, I need to be this because society tells you this.
Mhm.
But something would always pull me back in the direction of being with music and the community, and that I needed that. And I had a guest on a little bit ago describe music as almost like an emotional passport for them to process their emotions and
Yeah.
feel that way. For you, do you feel that music has offered you a way, much like you were just saying a little bit, process emotions in a way that like nothing else has really been able to do, but you're able to tap into certain emotions throughout creating music?
Uh, Here's the thing. I'm going to say yes, but I have very limited experiences. And this is just my own personal experience with things. But this is going back to your initial question, like music just made me feel a certain way from a young age. And that was something that immediately attracted me to it. And it immediately made me feel a connection in a certain way that I have been chasing that ever since. And and so yeah, for me, that is the case. And I feel like as much as it is involved with the lyrics and this like very blatant kind of I don't know, exposition of ideas, it's also just as much tied up in chords and melodies and tones and sounds and just instruments and amplifiers and like all these things, like those things that don't really have words relay so much meaning and they have so much power behind them. And especially when you put that into a real world context, when you see a band live, when you play live, I feel like those things are even like exponentially more profound to me. And so yeah, it has been a really like important place for understanding for me. And it's a place that I've always turned to, and it's a place that I've gone to search for understanding in. It's a place that I've I don't know, looked for commonality in. It's a place I've looked for compassion in, and I found it. I think my understanding of this has really changed over the years because being someone who plays music, I feel like people are often telling us, like whatever, your band saved my life, this kind of thing. And as I've gotten older, I've really like changed the way I think about it, and it's my kind of reaction to that. And I don't want to tell people this when they tell me that in the moment because it feels like dismissive and rude, but I feel like that takes a lot of power away from the person, from the listener. And I don't think I've saved anybody's life. I think people have saved their own lives. And I feel like music is a really incredible thing, but I think it comes back to the person and their connection to the thing. And the most beautiful thing about music is that community that unfolds from it, from that connection that you have with the person who's singing the song or playing the song and other people who find similar feelings from that thing. And then you come together in a real place and you're all there together. And that to me is when music is at its most beautiful, when we're all sharing in this moment. And the thing is, my interpretation of my emotional reaction is going to be different than yours and different from another person listening to the song and different from the writer who came up with the idea. And that doesn't really matter, because like these emotions, when we boil them down, um, they become like really simple and it's not that simple. And I don't know. It's I think it's like a just an overlapping of so many things. And that's what music is so great to me for because it involves these different layers. It involves words and it involves again chords and melodies and all these things. And yeah, and those like the interplay there and the intersection of all those things just it creates something bigger. And yeah, and there's emotions again, yeah, to return your question at hand. Yeah, it brings up all these emotions and it gives a language which I feel like we then try to decipher through, our own speaking language and we try to understand it, but it is just something very like intuitive about these things. Yeah. And I have felt that connection and still feel that connection very strongly to this day.
I love it. So just beautifully put. And even to go back, you mentioned the community, and I know to me that is so like just a sacred, special thing. Like when I moved across country, originally from Illinois, and now I'm in New Jersey, and it's like
Mhm.
when I moved here and didn't have that, like it was new, I didn't have that community. And until I found that community here, it was almost like that piece was missing. And it's so important being in those four walls in whatever venue you are, whatever space and music is around you, and you find whether it is punk, hardcore, whatever music community it is, everything that's instilled in me. Now, we don't have to get into too much, but I mean, the world right now, there's just so much going on in those communities, we feel so much hope and just belonging. How do you think we can take that hope and belonging we feel in that community and those four walls and bring them into the outside world that's just kind of like chaos right now?
Yeah. I mean, it's really tough because I feel in large part the agenda of a lot of people and largely companies and organizations and governments in charge really benefit from that kind of confusion and that feeling of dread and despair. And I feel like, in large part, this really succeeds by making people feel a personal responsibility and making people feel like it's their problem to fix and their fault if it doesn't get fixed. And that's like a huge theme on the new Glitterer record and something that I've really been thinking a lot about in this current era because I feel like for me sometimes and I think this is a common feeling, sometimes the feeling that I get from shows is not optimism. It's like a shared despair and that kind of, I don't know, that empathy and that understanding that you get from feeling connected to somebody who feels that same despair as you. Um, and I feel in large part that when we are dividing each other up into these like little, I don't know, like these little whatever individualistic like pairings that it feels impossible to like address these things head on. Like, how are we going to end wars by just being here? How are we going to like fix climate change? How are we going to rid ourselves of, authoritarian rulers? How are we going to break free from capitalism? Like the
Yeah.
things just get bigger and bigger. Like how are we going to protect ourselves and protect other people and protect people who can't protect themselves? Like it feels really impossible when you make it a single person's responsibility. But the thing is, it is not a single person's responsibility. And the thing that I feel most optimistic about when I feel this connection to music, even when it is a connection of a shared despair, um, it's the feeling that there are multiple people in this thing. There's a community of people. There's a whole like world of people who share these feelings. And when we could come together, we can address those problems way better than we can address them by ourselves. Infinitely better. It's
Yeah.
near impossible to fix those things by yourself. I was driving uh the other day and I saw a billboard and it said like it's one of those like I don't even know what company does these. It's like this generic like hope billboards kind of thing and it
Hmm.
said what can one person do? And it was a picture of Nelson Mandela. And it's this idea is like you can be the change and it puts all the like responsibility on one person. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, Nelson Mandela was a great person.
Hmm.
He did a lot of great things, but we're not all Nelson Mandela. We can't
Yeah.
all be Nelson Mandela. And also, Nelson Mandela didn't do it by himself.
Hmm.
Nobody does anything by themselves. And so, when we could come together, we can effectively attempt to change things in a way that we can't do them by ourselves. And so, how do we bring that into the outside world? I feel like we just have to continue to address those feelings and to find those connections more than anything. Because it's very clear to me that people are upset with the way the world is going. It's very clear to me that the way the world is working right now is detrimental to not only the people on this planet, but to the planet itself. And so we just have to like find people. We have to find connections. We have to like care. And I think once you find that common ground and you kind of remove this sense of entitlement that we have as individuals, you can get there. This like American idea of always, this whatever this personal responsibility also plays into this idea of this individualism that we are like fed and we're made to believe is so important. Like we want the best for ourselves. We want the best car. We want the best
Yeah.
education. We want like security because everyone is out to get us. Like all this bullshit that we're fed that
Hmm.
is so meaningless and is so divisive. Like we have to get rid of that. We have to like remove ourselves. We have to remove our egos from these things and remember that like we are individuals together. You could still have your unique taste. You can have the things that make you you, but you have to remember that like we share everything together. We are a a planet of people and we just have to take care of one another. And so, yeah, we have to connect. It's tough. I don't know because people are buying into all this shit all the time. But yeah, it's just I think it's much more simple than we're made to believe. I think the task is really difficult and the ways in which we have to change it become difficult. But the start is simple. And I think that is just like being a human being,
Yeah.
realizing that everyone is a human being, and that we are all trying to be human beings together, and we all deserve the same, whatever generic word people want to use.
Sure.
We all deserve to be treated fairly. We all deserve to be, you know, comfortable. And so we just need to realize that, I think.
Yeah, I think we're in this era right now where we look at our neighbor as, like you were saying, like even just like our enemy, our competition, and it is, and that's why I think I love the community that punk and hardcore specifically for me at a young age and still does, is I'm in those rooms and I feel that again, that loneliness of why doesn't anybody care about what's going on? Oh,
Yeah.
these people care. They care. And I found them. And I think that's so important to have those feelings you were talking about because we are just in such a divisive time where so many people think that. And I think that's why if you were with people and even saying like that join despair a little bit, like where when I think I find comfort that my peers are around me, but then I realize what we are all feeling, yes, there's connection, but we're all still dealing with that same day to day despair and just what's next? What do we do? And I think that was just so beautifully put, what you said.
Thank you.
And two, like one of the things with songwriting as well and music, do you ever view it as almost like a time capsule in a way where you can, when you're performing them, from the songwriting process to then performing them, do you almost feel like it's that time capsule to see your growth as an individual from when you first wrote them to now you're performing them?
Um, I think of like the records as a time capsule, but I don't think of the songs as one in a weird way. Just because I feel like when you play a song live, you have the opportunity to change it. A song to me, ideally, is an evolving thing. And I guess the ideas will remain constant, but my interpretations of the songs that I've written have changed drastically over time in some instances. And the ways that I play them have changed as well. And so yeah, that part of it I feel like is evolving to me. And I like it to evolve. I like it to change. But the record and like the document of it, that is something that I feel like that's a timestamp of a very specific moment in my life. Um, that's how I was feeling in that specific time, and that's how I was interpreting these ideas then, and that's how I wanted to present them. Um, and that to me is like the document. But the songs themselves, again, yeah, they continue to live on. And so they inevitably will take a different shape.
Do you ever think about too as well? Like obviously, music is it's that entity. It's forever. And not to be morbid, but there is going to be a time where we are no longer here. Do you ever think about how these songs and this music you're creating are going to be maybe found by people maybe decades from now and they're going to see it? Do you ever think about the message you're leaving behind with your music?
No, I really try not to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I did when I was younger, and now, no. I don't want to think about a legacy. I don't want to think about something I can't control. What I try to do is think about how my peers will interpret it, how my friends will feel, how the community that I exist in will take these things. That's what's important to me because that's the world that I live in. What happens after that, it's out of my hands. And also, I don't know. I don't care to be remembered. That's not my goal. I'm not doing this so I can, I don't know, uh, be significant and have people think about me after I'm gone. I don't care so much about that. I care about connections with my friends and my family in real life. And the people that I love and the people that I care about, like I care about maintaining those relationships. But the music that I'm writing, like that's just kind of for me, And I'm just trying to, I don't know, I'm trying to understand myself and I'm trying to find other people who feel similar ways and who have similar goals. And Yeah, I'm just focused on the present. It's the other things, it's 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 out of my hands, and I'm happy to just allow it to be that way.
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of us too, sometimes I know even myself, it's hard to be in the present and focus on the present and just let that be. I'm a person that sometimes I'll dwell in the past or even in the future, like what is going on? What can I be doing? And I think that's a really interesting way to look at it because I think us as music fans and the ones that are taking in the music often do wonder, legacies and things of that nature. And you hear certain people talk about it. But I think the way you put it is a really different take that I haven't heard as often. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be like I'm some, I don't know, different, whatever, deep person, but it's
Sure.
just, I think we're often told life is short, and I disagree with that. I think life is long, and I think the history of the world will hopefully be really long. And the goal is not to be remembered. The goal is not to leave your mark. The goal is to have good relationships with people, find things that have value to you, and find people who you love and share those things. Um, and I think when you're like looking for like leaving a mark, you're just fighting a battle that you will inevitably lose. Because hopefully history continues on for a long, long time after us, and there's so many people before us who are whatever fighting for that space, and there's going to be so many people after us, and it's like I don't care. I'm not fighting that fight. I'm just trying to do what matters to me right now. Um, I obviously like, returning your question about like how do we attempt to make the world a better place? Like I care about the future in that regard. I want to make sure that people are have the ability to live their lives, but I don't want to do anything on my behalf, for my sake. Like I don't care about that. I just want to, I don't know. I want to write songs that please me. I want to write songs that I enjoy, and I want to share those with people. And if they want to listen to it, that's great. But the goal is not to be like important or famous or anything. The goal is just to find the community that it makes sense to, and yeah, make those connections.
Yeah, and I think again it's all going back to community and all of that. And I think just that's why again you were someone that I again in interviews and in just hearing you speak on community, I'm like I that's exactly how I feel and felt and I still do and why I push for it so hard and finding it was so important. And
Mhm.
before I let you go, I would love to know as well. I mean, obviously you put out Horizontal Rust, your debut novel
Mhm.
for you in doing that process and writing it, now it's out there for everybody. For you, was there anything you learned while doing that that you feel you wouldn't have learned about yourself if you had not decided to write this book?
Um, I mean, it's hard for me to answer because I feel like I tried to have a very specific goal going into the book where I had an idea of the point I was trying to get across. And I set out to write it with a pretty specific, um, I don't know, like philosophical foundation. And so I wasn't going into it like I go into writing music. Writing music for me is I attempt to make it subconscious. I try to kind of just like let my mind wander and find where I put myself down. But with writing prose and writing this novel, I wanted to say something specific, and I wanted to see how I could get there. I feel like the things that I learned about myself were in the like the presentation of the book and the reaction to the book, which like that was really tough because I don't know. I've been playing music in bands for over 20 years, and I've been playing music, in different capacities for even longer. I've been writing for significantly less. And so it was like a much scarier
Mhm.
process and a much weirder way to put yourself out there. And people's reaction to the book was much more difficult to like discern and much more difficult to um read than people's response to music. Like I can read a negative takedown to music and not really feel phased. The negative reaction of the book like hurt me in a way that I found to be really tough to deal with. And that was something that I learned, which was like a pleasant reminder of the fragility of the ego. Um, and that's an important reminder. Um, but at the same time, it's I don't know. I think the thing that I learned is that is most important to me is that I still have this desire to um I feel like the easiest way to put it is just to find that connection. Um, because to me, when I fell in love with music and I fell in love with bands, I wanted to be in a band and I saw that it was possible through my older brother, through his friends, through the local music community in Wilkes-Barre. It's just like I knew it was something that I could do. And when I fell in love with books, later on, I just kind of wanted to do the same thing where it's like, this is something that I love, and this is something that I find to be really important and interesting. And so I want to do it. I want to put myself out there in this way, and I want to like, I don't know, I want to meet other people who are interested in having those conversations and in trying these things. And so, it's a different medium, it's a different scene, uh it's a different set of aesthetic like principles and ideas, but it kind of comes down to the same thing for me. Like I just wanted to find other people who are feeling similar ways, and I wanted to find other people who are interested in making things and challenging ideas and doing whatever. And yeah, that was like a rewarding thing to just find new people who are into a different thing that I like. Yeah, but the creative stuff, I don't know. I feel like the rest of it, while it was very different than writing music, I feel like I just know that process so well that it felt similar in a way. It felt like I'm just working on this idea. I'm just trying to make it feel good. I'm trying to make it make sense. I'm trying to make it sound good. And yeah, that felt like music to me in a weird way, even though it was very different. It's
Yeah.
the I don't know, the more personal stuff that kind of like felt new.
Yeah, and and again, like you're saying, it all again from the time we started speaking till now, it's the connection with people.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I can't thank you enough for taking time. I didn't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're super busy. Truly, this has been really special for me. A longtime fan, and I really appreciate you taking the time for me.
Thanks so much for having me. It means a lot. Thank you for asking me to do this. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you as well.